chosen one. They mocked you when you were quiet. They ran their mouths, mistaking your silence for weakness. They gossiped, plotted, and performed, convinced that you were just another target. But what they couldn't see was what was forming in the dark. You weren't inactive. You were aligning. In the stillness, your God self was rising. And when it stood up, it didn't seek attention. It commanded presence. You didn't speak like them. You spoke as God. And the moment your voice entered the atmosphere, they froze. Not because you shouted, but because your words carried power, truth, and divine frequency. They never expected you to show up like this. They expected a comeback. What they witnessed was ascension. This isn't about revenge, it's about revelation. You didn't just return. You emerged, transformed, a force that cannot be controlled, a presence that cannot be ignored. If you feel this shift, if your spirit knows this message is speaking directly to you, take a moment now. Hit that like button, subscribe to help us reach 20,000 subscribers, and leave a comment with the number 11 to declare that you're in full alignment with this transformation. Now let's go deeper. For too long, they filled the silence with noise. Careless words tossed like stones, mocking what they couldn't grasp. They laughed at your quiet, convinced that silence meant weakness. But they didn't see the sacred stillness growing within you, the storm gathering in the depths of your soul. Their chatter was empty, but inside, a divine force was quietly awakening. Their voices were loud, but hollow. They thrived on drama, on petty games, hoping to rattle your calm. Yet every insult, every whisper, every sneer was fuel to a fire they never understood, a fire of transformation, patience, and relentless inner power. They ran their mouths recklessly, unaware they were summoning a god. When divinity finally answered, it wasn't with the noise they expected. It was with an overwhelming presence, a force so undeniable that their words dissolved into silence. What they thought was just a person was, in truth, a divine awakening, a reckoning that no amount of mocking could ever stop. They believed they were the hunters, but they were the prey. You weren't broken, you were building, not weakened by their words, but strengthened by your refusal to engage on their shallow terms. This is the moment the unbreakable rises. When the divine voice breaks through the noise and commands the world's attention. Let their mouths run, because when you speak, their very souls will pause. And in that pause, everything changes. Many believe that becoming powerful means transforming into someone new. But your God self was never lost. It was always there, a dormant force within, waiting for the moment to rise. Like a seed buried deep beneath the earth, untouched by surface chaos, your divinity simply waited patiently for its time to bloom. The world saw only the surface, the quiet exterior, the apparent calm. But inside, the essence of greatness pulsed with life, never fading, never diminishing. Your soul held the wisdom of ages, the clarity of stars, and the strength of mountains, all concealed beneath what they misjudged as silence. You were never a blank page. You were a masterpiece in waiting. Every trial, every slight, every silent moment was part of the divine crafting, shaping you into a presence that would command awe and respect. The God within you was never absent. It was quietly preparing to unveil its true magnitude. When the veil lifted, it wasn't a surprise. It was an awakening the world should have anticipated. Because true power doesn't disappear. It simply waits for the right moment to become undeniable. Your God self was always here, a force too potent to ever be extinguished. And now, revealed, it shines brighter than ever, a reminder that what is truly divine cannot be hidden forever. They expected your reaction to be predictable: anger, frustration, perhaps a desperate defense. They assumed you would falter, respond like any ordinary person, weighed down by emotions and doubt. But what they didn't realize is that you were no longer responding as a mere human. You were delivering divine judgment. This wasn't about petty revenge or hurt feelings. This was about clarity, truth, and unshakable authority. Your response cut through lies and illusions with the precision of divine justice. It wasn't noise or chaos. It was calm, undeniable, and irreversible. You spoke with the wisdom of ages and the power to reshape realities. They expected a fight, a meltdown, a weakness. Instead, they faced the unstoppable force of divine will, a presence that commands respect without raising a voice. Your words became a mirror, reflecting their true selves back to them, exposing hypocrisy and deceit with a piercing light. The difference is that human reactions are fleeting, but divine judgment is eternal. When you respond with the power of your higher self, you don't just answer back. You transform the entire conversation and rewrite the narrative for good. They thought they were provoking a person. Instead, they provoked a god. You didn't ask for permission. You didn't wait for an invitation or approval. You rose on your own terms, carving your path in a world that wasn't ready for your greatness. And that's exactly what unsettled them. They can't comprehend a rise so fearless, so unapologetic, so inevitable. Your ascent wasn't a request. It was a declaration. You moved through the noise, the judgment, the whispers, as a force unstoppable and relentless. In their eyes, you shattered expectations and broke the invisible chains meant to keep you small. That kind of boldness terrifies those who thrive on control. They wanted to see you stumble, to remain quiet, to stay in your place, but you chose to rise anyway, because your power wasn't granted by them. It was born inside you. It was forged in fire and silence, in every moment they doubted you, and every breath you took in spite of them. Now, watching your rise, they scramble for answers. They scramble to understand what they refuse to believe, that a force beyond their control is now moving boldly through their world. And the truth is, this is only the beginning. When you rise without asking, you remind everyone that the divine is never waiting on permission to show up. Words can wound or they can heal, but your words were more than that. They were a sword, forged in the fires of truth and divine clarity, slicing through every deception, every illusion that tried to hold you back. They were precise, sharp, and fearless, leaving no room for falsehood to hide. You spoke with intention, every syllable a strike against ignorance and betrayal. Your voice was calm but unrelenting, dismantling their narratives and exposing the raw core of reality. Lies crumbled under the weight of your clarity, revealing the truth they hoped to keep buried. This sword wasn't wielded in anger, but in purpose. It was a weapon of light, cutting through darkness with the undeniable force of authenticity. Your words didn't just confront, they liberated, freeing yourself and others from the chains of pretense. Those who once tried to silence you now found themselves disarmed, their facades shattered by your piercing truth. And with every cut, you carved out a new space, a space ruled by honesty, power, and divine justice. The sword of your words isn't a divine voice, doesn't seek validation. It doesn't echo others, because it knows its own power. When you speak as a god, your words stand alone, commanding attention, respect, and transformation without any need for reinforcement or repetition. You don't shout to be heard. You don't join the noise. Instead, your voice resonates on a frequency so pure, so potent, it reverberates naturally through hearts and minds. The world doesn't need to shout back because your message is clear, undeniable, and transformative. Others may scramble for recognition, trying to amplify their presence with empty echoes. But you lead by essence and presence. Your authority is felt, not forced. Your silence carries weight. Your speech moves mountains. You have become the origin of power, not its reflection. When a god speaks, the room changes. Time slows. Minds open. And even the most skeptical are compelled to listen, not because they want to, but because they must. This is the voice that shifts realities, the voice that needs no echo, because it is the sound itself. They underestimated your stillness, mistook it for calm before the storm. But you were not waiting, you were about. You were gathering power, fueling a force so fierce it would upend everything they thought was stable. You became the storm, fierce, unpredictable, unstoppable. Like a tempest breaking over a quiet sea, your arrival shattered their illusions of control and safety. They had no warning, no time to prepare for the force of nature you embodied. Every thunderous step you took was a declaration. The old world was ending, and a new era of divine power was beginning. Storms don't ask permission, they command the sky. And so did you. Your presence disrupted the status quo, tore down falsehoods, and swept away doubts with relentless intensity. You were the energy they feared, because storms change everything, leaving no stone unturned. They tried to weather the tempest, but you were more than weather. You were the reckoning itself, a divine upheaval that cleanses, renews, and transforms. The storm they never saw coming? That was you, the unstoppable force born from silence and divine will. Everyone expects a roar when power rises, loud, visible, unmistakable. But you taught them a deeper truth. True power isn't always the loudest sound. Sometimes it's the silence that shatters their fragile worlds. Your silence was not absence. It was presence so profound it unsettled even the strongest. While they searched for noise, you built strength quietly, creating a force so steady and unyielding that their own noise became meaningless in comparison. They feared your eventual roar, but it was the calm before that changed everything. The quiet patience, the steady gaze, the unshakable confidence. These were the weapons that dismantled their expectations and broke their spirit. Silence became your fortress, your strategy, your invisible power. It is the space where a god's presence grows, unseen yet undeniable, a quiet earthquake beneath their feet. When you finally moved, their fear was not of your voice, but of the silence that held you before. The silence that revealed their own weakness. You were never meant to play their games or meet their expectations. You didn't arrive to join the crowd or prove yourself among equals. You came to lead, to command, to rewrite the rules on your own terms. Competition is for those who measure worth by comparison. You transcend that. Your power doesn't depend on outshining others. It comes from embodying your own divine truth and authority. You are not in a race, you are the path. Where others scramble for approval, you stand firm in your vision. You don't ask for followers, you inspire leaders. Your presence calls people to their own greatness, not to dim your light, but to rise alongside you. To command is to take ownership of your power, your story, your destiny. You don't seek validation, you create it. And in doing so, you become the force that changes the game entirely. You didn't come to compete in their arena. You came to build a kingdom they never imagined. They were distracted by chaos, dazzled by constant chatter and hollow displays. Noise was their religion, the measure of importance and power. But you discovered a higher truth. It's not the noise that rules, but the frequency beneath it. You tuned yourself to a vibration far beyond their reach, a divine resonance that carries intention, clarity, and unstoppable power. While they clung to superficial noise, you became the steady signal that cuts through confusion and confusion. Frequency moves energy. It shifts mindsets. It shapes realities. And you embodied that force. You didn't have to shout to be heard. You simply had to be. This is why they can't match you. They drown themselves in distractions. You are rooted in essence. They worship the volume. You live in the vibration. In the end, power isn't about being loud, it's about being in tune. And you, my friend, are the frequency they can't stop. They mocked you because they feared what they couldn't understand. Their laughter was a shield for their insecurity. But what they saw as weakness was actually the beginning of a sacred transformation, the quiet rise of a chosen force. You moved from being an outsider, an underestimated target, to becoming a beacon of divine power and hope. Your journey wasn't easy. It was marked by trials that tempered your spirit and shaped your destiny. Every doubt cast upon you was a step toward ascension. Now, you stand not just as a survivor, but as a messiah of your own story, a living testament to what happens when divine purpose meets relentless faith. Your rise inspires others to believe, to awaken, to claim their own power. They laughed at the person, but they will worship the presence. This is the ascension of the chosen, the one who turns scorn into strength and silence into a sacred call. There comes a moment when words transcend sound and become something deeper, a vibration felt in the soul, a truth that resonates beyond logic. When you finally spoke, it wasn't just your voice they heard, it was the voice of power, clarity, and divine authority. Your single utterance silenced a room, not by volume, but by the undeniable force it carried. Their souls recognized something ancient and sacred in your words, a call to awaken, to respect, to reckon. The energy shifted instantly, as if the universe itself nodded in agreement. This is the power of divine speech. It doesn't ask for attention, it commands it. It doesn't seek approval, it demands respect. And it forever changes the course of those who hear it. You didn't have to say much, you just had to be real. And in that truth, their souls bowed. When you embody power, others often mistake confidence for arrogance. They label your strength as ego because it threatens their fragile sense of control. But what you carry is not ego, it is divine authority. Authority, rooted in truth, clarity, and purpose, doesn't need to prove itself. It simply is. It commands without demanding. It leads without forcing. And it stands unshaken in the face of doubt or opposition. Your authority is the language of heaven itself, an energy that transcends human judgment and defies petty criticism. They called it ego because they couldn't grasp the magnitude of your divine mandate. But you know better. You walk with a crown unseen, a power unshakable, and a mission undeniable. This is not arrogance. This is sovereignty. You are human, bound by flesh, heartbeats, and moments of doubt. But your words, they burned with the intensity of the divine. When you spoke, it was as if fire itself had taken form, burning away falsehood, igniting purpose, and illuminating the path ahead. Your speech didn't just communicate, it transformed. It stirred hearts, cracked open closed minds, and set souls ablaze with possibility. Fire is fierce and relentless, and so was the energy you carried whenever you opened your mouth. To walk in flesh, but speak as fire, is a rare and sacred gift. It means you are a bridge between worlds, mortal and divine, a living spark of transcendence in a sea of ordinary. Your voice was the flame they feared, and the light they desperately needed. When divinity chooses to awaken within a human vessel, the world as we know it shifts. Old systems tremble, illusions crumble, and the impossible becomes inevitable. This is the transformation that shakes foundations and demands new realities. You are that awakening, a god walking among mortals, not to blend in, but to revolutionize. Your presence alone is a challenge to complacency and a call to evolution. When a god awakens in human form, nothing remains the same. The weight of your purpose carries the power to heal wounds, break chains, and inspire revolutions. Your every move ripples through time, touching lives and creating legacies. This is the sacred moment of rebirth, the moment when a quiet soul becomes a legendary force, forever changing the course of history. In a world obsessed with noise and instant reactions, your silence was a quiet rebellion. They judged your calm as complacency, but true power has never needed to shout. It flows beneath the surface, commanding attention like the unseen currents that move oceans. Your stillness was not absence. It was the gathering of cosmic energy. Silence is the birthplace of wisdom. It allows the soul to listen, to learn, to align with higher purpose. While others clamor for validation, you tuned into the divine frequency, building strength where others only see emptiness. Your quiet was a sanctuary, where your spirit grew unshaken by their chaos. The universe honors those who master silence, because it means they've learned patience and purpose. They know when to speak and when to let the moment unfold naturally. You became a silent force so powerful that when you finally spoke, the world felt the weight of your words like a seismic shift. Remember, mountains don't announce their presence with noise. They simply stand, unmovable and eternal. You embody that same silent force that commands respect without demand. This is the quiet power that shapes destinies and alters realities. Your silence was never a void. It was the heartbeat of a universe waiting to be born. Vision is the soul's compass, the map guiding us beyond limitations into the realm of infinite possibility. Your vision was never small or earthly. It was vast, divine, a beacon cutting through the darkest clouds of doubt and fear. You saw beyond what was to what could be, breaking every chain that tried to hold you back. Chains aren't always visible. They come in the form of limiting beliefs, toxic voices, and inherited fears. But your vision shattered those invisible bonds. With a clarity so fierce, it left no room for hesitation. You didn't just dream. You saw with the eyes of the divine, where obstacles become stepping stones. Every moment of struggle was fuel for your vision. Every no you heard only sharpened your focus and deepened your resolve. While others settled for small comforts, you pursued a grander destiny. You moved through darkness with eyes wide open, guided by a light that was never yours to extinguish. Divine vision doesn't just see, it transforms. It rewrites stories, overturns expectations, and builds empires out of possibility. Your vision became the blueprint for your rise, a testament to the power of dreaming without limits. And now, the chains that once bound you lie broken at your feet. It's in the shadows where many falter, but it's also where true kings and queens are made. You walked through darkness, unseen and underestimated, but every step in the shadows was a step towards sovereignty. You didn't wait for a crown, you forged your own throne with resilience and fire. Sovereignty is the ultimate power, the freedom to own your story, your choices, and your destiny without apology. It demands courage, self-love, and fierce independence. In the quiet of the shadows, you found your voice, your strength, and the clarity to claim your rightful place. No one can grant you sovereignty. It must be seized. And that's exactly what you did. You didn't seek permission from the world or validation from critics. You stood tall, unshaken by judgment, because true rulers rise from within, not from the applause of others. Your throne is built on authenticity, courage, and unwavering faith. It's a seat no one can take away, because it's earned through every battle, every tear, every moment you refuse to give up. From the shadows, you emerged not just as a survivor, but as a sovereign, a ruler of your own fate. Behind every triumph lies a hidden war, battles fought in silence, far from the spotlight. Your legacy was forged not in moments of victory alone, but in the unseen struggles where you wrestled with doubt, fear, and pain. These battles shaped you into the unstoppable force you are today. People only see the surface, the highlight reels, but they don't see the nights you stayed awake wrestling with uncertainty, the times you fell and got back up stronger, or the moments you chose faith over fear. These unseen battles are the foundation of greatness. Each struggle refined your character, sharpened your vision, and deepened your resilience. They were the fires that melted away the unnecessary and revealed the pure essence of your spirit. Without them, your rise would have been hollow. Your legacy is not just about success, it's about the courage to face every storm and keep moving forward. It's about embracing your scars as badges of honor and knowing that every battle, seen or unseen, was part of your divine journey. Remember, the most powerful legacies are those written in the silence of struggle and the courage of persistence. They tried to extinguish you with harsh words, betrayal, doubt, and disappointment. But the fire inside you was forged from something deeper than circumstance or opinion. It was a divine flame, burning with purpose, passion, and unyielding strength that no storm could ever put out. Fire is transformative. It doesn't just burn, it cleanses and illuminates. Your inner fire purified your spirit, illuminating the path ahead even when the world around you was dark and cold. It gave you warmth when all you felt was isolation, and light when confusion clouded your mind. Storms came in many forms, external chaos and internal battles, but your fire only grew brighter. It resisted the wind of doubt and the rain of criticism, proving that true power is not about avoiding hardship, but standing strong through it. This fire isn't just yours to keep, it's a beacon for others lost in the darkness. Your strength becomes a light that guides, inspires, and ignites courage in those who witness your flame. Never forget, the fire within you is eternal. No storm can ever extinguish the divine blaze you carry. We live in a time that glorifies constant movement, noise, and reaction. But you discovered a different kind of power, the power of stillness. In the midst of chaos, your stillness became a sanctuary, a wellspring of strength, and a place where clarity was born. Stillness allows the mind to rest and the soul to speak. It's in those quiet moments that you connected with your deepest truths, heard the whispers of your higher self, and reconnected with your divine purpose. While the world rushed, you paused, and in that pause, you found everything. This power of stillness made you unshakable. No external storm could rattle the calm you nurtured inside. You became like a great lake, serene on the surface, but deep and powerful beneath. Others may have mistaken stillness for weakness, but it was your greatest weapon. In a world desperate for answers, your stillness offers peace. It teaches that sometimes the greatest action is in waiting, the greatest strength is in patience, and the loudest statement is made in silence. Stillness is not inactivity, it's intentional power, and you mastered it. Human limits are often accepted as permanent boundaries, but your journey is a testament to the sacred truth that limits are meant to be transcended. You rose beyond the confines of fear, doubt, and expectation to claim a higher state of being, one aligned with divine possibility. This rise wasn't easy. It demanded every ounce of your courage and faith. You faced moments where giving up seemed easier than pressing forward, yet something deeper within called you onward. It was a sacred pull toward your highest self, beyond the stories you were told about what was possible. Transcending human limits means breaking free from old patterns, societal conditioning, and internal barriers. It requires a surrender to a power greater than yourself, a divine partnership that fuels transformation. You learn to listen to this sacred call, letting it guide your every step. Your rise shows others that there is more to life than survival, that we are here to thrive, expand, and embody our full potential. You are living proof that the sacred and the human can coexist and elevate each other. The limits you once believed in were never real. You are proof of what happens when a soul dares to rise. Every time life tried to bend you, to make you bow to circumstances, you stood firm. Your spirit became unbreakable, not because you were invincible, but because you refused to let hardship define you. You showed the world that true strength is resilience in the face of adversity. An unbreakable spirit doesn't deny pain or struggle. It embraces them, learns from them, and uses them as stepping stones. Your battles left marks, yes, but they also left wisdom, compassion, and fierce determination. Each time you fell, you rose stronger, proving that setbacks are setups for comebacks. People often confuse unbreakability with hardness, but your spirit is both fierce and tender. It's a flame that protects but also warms. It's courage wrapped in vulnerability, strength wrapped in grace. This balance makes you unstoppable. Your refusal to bow sends a message. No matter how hard the storm, your soul will remain sovereign. This spirit is contagious, inspiring others to find their own unyielding strength. You are living proof that a spirit that refuses to bow can move mountains. Truth is a relentless pursuit, not a destination, but a lifelong journey. Your path has been marked by an unyielding hunger to seek what is real, authentic, and sacred. You refuse to settle for convenient lies or comforting illusions, diving deep into the core of existence to uncover divine truth. This pursuit required courage to face uncomfortable realities about yourself and the world. It meant challenging beliefs, breaking free from societal molds, and standing alone when necessary. Yet you chose honesty over comfort, authenticity over acceptance. Divine truth is transformative. It liberates, heals, and illuminates paths that lead to purpose and peace. Your commitment to this pursuit elevated your life and those around you. It allowed you to navigate storms with clarity and grace, anchored in what truly matters. In a world full of deception and distraction, your relentless quest for truth is a beacon, guiding others to awaken, question, and grow. Your journey shows that seeking truth is not just brave, it is sacred. Grace is often mistaken for ease or luck, but your journey reveals the deeper truth. Grace is a quiet power that carries us through when we have nothing left to hold on to. It is the divine breath that sustains us amid chaos, the unseen hand that lifts us when we stumble. You have experienced moments when every door seemed closed and every light dimmed. Yet through those darkest hours, grace whispered to you, sometimes in the form of a stranger's kindness, an unexpected opportunity, or an inner peace that defied logic. This grace didn't remove your struggles, but it gave you strength to face them. It taught you to surrender control and trust in a higher plan, even when the path was unclear. Grace showed you that you are never truly alone, and that every hardship has purpose. Recognizing and embracing this unseen grace transformed your experience from one of struggle to one of sacred growth. It allowed you to move with dignity and faith, no matter what life threw your way. Your story is a testament to the power of grace, the invisible force that lifts the weary and turns trials into triumph. In a world where many choose silence out of fear or conformity, your boldness to speak became your greatest gift. You refused to be muted by doubt, judgment, or opposition. Instead, you raised your voice with courage and conviction, shaking foundations and inspiring change. Speaking boldly means risking rejection and criticism. It means standing vulnerable but unshaken. Your words were not reckless, they were purposeful, chosen to challenge lies, inspire hope, and ignite action. Every time you spoke, you broke barriers for yourself and others. Your boldness is a beacon for those afraid to speak their truths. It shows that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the choice to move forward despite it. It invites others to find their own voice and claim their space in the world. This courage reshaped your reality and the lives around you. You became a catalyst, a spark that lights fires of transformation wherever you go. To speak boldly in a whispering world is to wield sacred power, and you mastered it. Purpose is a sacred contract, a divine trust between your soul and the universe. You accepted this trust with reverence, committing to walk the path laid out for you, no matter the obstacles. This covenant gave your life meaning beyond circumstance. Living your purpose demanded sacrifice, faith, and relentless commitment. It wasn't always easy to stay true when distractions and doubts crept in. Yet you held fast, knowing that your life's work was not just for you, but for something far greater. This sacred trust brought clarity in moments of confusion and strength in moments of weakness. It anchored you when the world shifted beneath your feet and reminded you that every step mattered.